This is Daughter of Christ. Our dear Muslim friends, we've all been told for so long that the Quran is a miracle of the Arabic language. That belief has been so ingrained in Muslims' minds for generations, repeated and parroted over and over again by Muslims, the vast majority of whom do not speak Arabic. So how can they possibly check if that statement is true? Well, we're here to tell you that just like everything about the Quran, its Arabic has holes in it. Now I know it goes against everything you're told by people you trust, but hear me out. Let's explore the Quran's grammatical mistakes. The Quran is actually full of glaring grammatical mistakes, even at the most basic elementary level. And despite what your imams would like you to believe, it's actually a well-known and documented fact by Islam's most prominent scholars. For example, take Al-Qurtubi, who mentions in his tafsir of Surah 20 verse 63 that a certain reading of that verse by some of the companions agreed with the grammar but was different from the Quran. Those companions read the verse differently in order to correct its grammar, and therefore it was grammatically correct but different from the reading in the Quran. Interestingly, is the grammatically incorrect version that appears in mushafs today and is still being recited by Muslims. Now let's look at a detailed example of a glaring mistake in the Quran. Look at Surah 5 verse 69, the first part of that verse. It says, "Indeed, those who believed, and the Jews, and the Sabeans." Now the verse starts with the word indeed. The Arabic word for that is inna. Now this word happens to grammatically have an effect on the words following it, changing the form in which they are written and pronounced. The subject word that follows inna must be in a form called mansoob. Let's see how this should look like in the verse. The word indeed or inna should affect how the word Sabeans is written. Like we've seen, it must be in the mansoob form, which I've written here in the green above the Quranic verse. It should say as-Sabi'een. However, the form we see here written in the Quran is different. It's as-Sabi'oon. Even a non-Arab can see the difference between the two words. Now the Arabs would know the Quranic word here appears in the incorrect marfu'a form, not the correct mansoob form in the green. Now, as we mentioned previously, ancient Muslim scholars were well aware of this. Here we see the Qurtubi in his tafsir of this verse saying, هذا خطأ. Translation, this is a mistake. Dear Muslims, I know you're feeling defensive right now. You don't want to believe me or the grammar books or even Al-Qurtubi. You want to believe the word Sabians was written correctly in that verse. In case you forgot, it's the word in the green. And since you believe it's correctly written, please focus on that word and memorize how it looks. Are you still sure it's correct? If you're still convinced it's Allah's words and therefore can never be wrong and must be correct, congratulations, you just condemned the Quran, because the exact same sentence appears in another verse in a different form. Have a look. It's like a game of spot the difference. In the top verse, Surah 5 verse 69, it writes the word Sabians in one form, as-Sabi'un. In the verse below, Surah 22 verse 17, it writes the word Sabians in another form, as-Sabi'in. So which one's correct? Which one? Our dear Muslim friends, we have to break it to you. The Quran is not a miracle of the Arabic language. Far from it. According to ancient Muslim scholars who lived almost 1,000 years ago, who were closer to Muhammad and his Arabic, even they confirmed there were mistakes in it. But we have good news. The true word of God, who came to earth as a human being, has no mistakes, no sins in him, no flaws, and no blemishes. If you're seeking the perfect word of God, then come to Him.